After a decade working in the private financial and legal sector, a Southampton author is set to publish the first of a series of thrillers. And joining me in the studio now to tell us more is Phil Bridge, author of The Hit. Well, Phil, thank you very much for coming in. And as we said there, it's just the first one in a whole series of novels that you're writing.
Yes, it's the first one of 19.
Wow.
Initially started as a standalone book, but as I started writing through it, I realised that this guy isn't finished with what he's doing, and there could be so much more. And it turned into 3, which turned into 10, and it's now currently 19.
That's quite a jump.
Yes, yeah, it was. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's great fun, and the story can keep going.
Brilliant. And as we said there before, you've come from quite a different sector to writing. So how did you make that jump?
A friend of mine offered me a job after, as he said, over 10 years in the financial and legal sector. That didn't work according to plan. My job was filled by somebody else, and I wasn't told. And my partner said to me at the time, you know, I had this idea for a script for a TV series, and he said, you know, why don't you turn it into, you know, write it? So I said to her, well, I might do, I might not, see what's available. Had a few little part-time jobs, and eventually I made the jump and said, no, I'm actually gonna put it down in a book, and there it is, it's hit. So. And
19 books later.
19 books later, yes, exactly, yes.
And have you taken much inspiration from, shall we say, your former life into your writing?
Yes, there is actually. The main character, Mark King, is an amalgamation of several different legal figures that I've been honoured enough to work with in the past, and a lot of my characters are based on real people, so... Yeah.
And I was going to say, reading through the books, would these people be able to recognise themselves, do you think, or have you tweaked them just
I've tweaked them a little bit. Some of them that I knew of that didn't necessarily know me, and some of them that I had a lot of contact with. And I try and, if I can, use real people as often as possible and tweak details so that it's not quite them, but there's some aspects of that person.
OK, now just tell me then about your main protagonist. What do we need to know about him?
Well, Mark King is a renowned British lawyer. And he's an ex-Sandhurst student who was kicked out of Sandhurst for disorderly conduct. And he's quite handy with the sniper rifle. That was his speciality. And he takes on a case to prosecute a terrorist. The case collapses, and he's framed for assault and then the murder of his wife. So his career's in tatters, and he decides, he knows that his wife's death was a setup. So he takes up his previous career as an army sniper to hunt down those responsible. Wow,
so it's quite heavy stuff right from the word go.
Yes, yeah, a lot of people have actually been saying, you know, did you jump into it straight away or did you ease into it? And I quite like to jump in straight away, and it's quite sort of get the action going straight away, because that's the kind of story I like to read.
And that's the thing, so you've got sort of the elements of the legal battles there, and then it quite dramatically changes.
Seemingly overnight, yes. I mean, as soon as the case collapses, he comes home from work that night, having been sacked, and literally his wife's dead in the study, and he starts literally from that point.
Wow, so in the study with a candlestick, that sort of thing.
That sort of thing, yeah, very Cluedo, yes.
And so obviously we've got the 19 books there, and you say you're not quite done with the character just yet.
No, every time I think I've come to the end of his journey, I get another idea, which sends me into a spiral of note-making and brainstorming, and then before I know where I am, I've got another book. It might be anything from going out somewhere, listening to a piece of music, and just sometimes in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm jumping out of bed and writing notes down on the notepaper next to the bed.
So inspiration literally attaches to you like a sponge.
It does, it does. It's great, because I didn't realise that's how it would go when I first started it. I thought it would just be a standalone book. I'd write it, some people might like it, some people might not. And then as soon as I started looking around, I realised I opened my mind to different ideas and thought there's stories everywhere if I look for them.
Wow. So are you just fixing on this character for the time being, or are you going to splinter off and do other things?
I did make some notes on a different character, a sort of DCI in the police force, and I was going to try and cross the 2 stories over, and then take him off from where this series leaves off.
Okay.
But at the moment I've shelved that, because that was when it was just 3 books. So
it's grown to something else.
Yeah, it has, yeah.
Fantastic.
Quite. Yeah,
well, obviously the main thing then, what is the latest book called, and where do we find it?
The latest book is called Hit. It's available from Clink Street Publishing on Amazon, and if you want any more details, you can find it on the website, which is psbridgebooks.com, and on Twitter and Facebook.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.